Donald Trump's presidency changed the NATO dialogue, causing major scrutiny of its funding model. He argued European allies weren't contributing enough, making the U.S. shoulder more defense costs. His main grievances centered around fair share and calling NATO obsolete. Trump felt European nations relied too much on the U.S. military, claiming they were getting ripped off. He noted many allies failed to meet the 2% GDP defense guideline set at the 2014 Wales summit. Trump suggested a drastic increase, proposing 5% GDP contributions by 2035. He also urged allies to purchase American defense equipment to support U.S. industry. Historically, U.S. presidents have urged European allies to increase defense spending since NATO's creation in 1949. However, European spending dipped after the Cold War, widening the gap. Trump's style was confrontational, publicly criticizing allies and threatening reduced U.S. commitments to Article 5. Despite his critiques, European defense spending has increased. The urgency of the 2% GDP target grew with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. By June 2025, 23 of 32 NATO nations will meet this target, with Poland exceeding 4%. The 2025 NATO summit aims for 5% GDP defense spending by 2035, ensuring core defense investment. Proposed changes and reforms. Trump sought behavioral changes in NATO, not structural reforms. Key demands included increased defense spending. He called for a 5% GDP target. Purchasing U.S. equipment. Allies should buy American-made weapons linked to spending. Transactional approach. U.S. commitment tied to financial contributions. Recently, Trump suggested NATO countries collectively fund weapons for Ukraine, easing U.S. taxpayer burden. Reactions from European leaders. European leaders initially showed concern and alarm over Trump's criticisms. They worried his rhetoric could weaken alliance unity amid geopolitical challenges. Figures like Merkel and Macron highlighted NATO's values-based nature. Over time, a pragmatic shift emerged, especially after the Ukraine invasion. Leaders like Stoltenberg and Rutte recognized Trump's pressure spurred increased defense spending. A consensus grew that European nations must take more responsibility for their security, aligning with Trump's demands for different reasons. Strategic implications. Trump's stance on NATO had significant implications. European defense boost. European defense spending and military capabilities increased, aiming for a stronger NATO pillar. Transatlantic relations. Trump's approach strained relations but may have prompted a necessary rebalancing of alliance responsibilities. Strategic autonomy. His criticisms ignited discussions on Europe's strategic autonomy, focusing on independent defense capabilities. Uncertainty and self-reliance. Trump's unpredictable policy raised doubts about U.S. security guarantees, pressuring allies to become more self-reliant. Comparison with previous presidents. Trump's call for burden sharing was distinctive in intensity and style. George W. Bush and Obama both advocated for increased European defense spending through traditional diplomacy, emphasizing collective values. Trump's methods, his caustic rhetoric and threats to withdraw, marked a departure from the traditional NATO approach. Arguments for and against Trump's criticism necessary wake-up call. Supporters argue his approach prompted needed urgency among European allies to share defense costs. Fair burden sharing. Trump's pressure resulted in significant increases in defense spending among allies. Stronger alliance. A NATO where all contribute fairly is better at deterring threats. Undermining unity. Critics argue his tactics risked trust and cohesion within the alliance. Simplistic metrics. The 2% GDP spending target is viewed as an oversimplified measure of contributions. Geopolitical instability. Questioning Article 5 may embolden adversaries and create global instability. Trade conflicts. His America First agenda conflicted with NATO's cooperative spirit. In conclusion, Trump's presidency led to increased NATO defense spending by European allies, shaping a stronger but complex alliance future.